In this lesson, we will discuss how we can define variables in C language. We will see how we can define a single variable as well as multiple variables. Let us first discuss what is variable definition. Depending on the type of the variable, you must first allocate a certain section of memory for that variable. You can think of this reserved space as a box that will hold some value in it, and this value may be a number or a character. Thus, variable definition, also sometimes referred to as variable declaration, is asking your computer to set aside some space or box in advance for you. Variable definition indicates the data type of the variable followed by variable name. Variable definition is essential because you can't store data in variables without defining them first. Now let's return to our num.c program that we saw in the last lesson. In this program, the statement int num is the variable definition. And in this statement, int num followed by semicolon, the variable num is of the type integer. Similarly, the statement int value followed by semicolon is an example of variable definition or variable declaration. This statement causes a box or space of 4 bytes to be set aside in your computer's memory, at least in the CodeBlocks IDE. However, if you are using an older IDE such as Turbo C++, only 2 bytes will be set aside in your computer's memory. Now let's consider few more examples of variable definition. Character grade followed by semicolon. This is an example of variable definition. Similarly, int marks followed by semicolon. This is another example of variable definition. And float GPA followed by semicolon. This is another example of variable definition. We have defined 3 different variables: a character type variable grade, an integer type variable marks, and a floating type variable GPA. These 3 variables may be used to hold character type, integer type, and floating point type data respectively. Now let's suppose that in our program we have defined 3 variables: tomatoes, potatoes, and onions on 3 separate lines. The first line is int tomatoes followed by semicolon. The second line is int potatoes followed by semicolon. And the third line is int onions followed by semicolon. However, a desired end in C, just like any other programming language, is to avoid writing extra lines of code. We can get around this problem by defining multiple variables in a single statement. We may define multiple variables in one statement using commas to separate the variables subject to the condition that all the variables are of the same type. For example, we may write int tomatoes, comma, potatoes, comma, onions followed by semicolon. Now in this statement, the variables tomatoes, potatoes, and onions are of the type integer. Defining a variable name at the start of the program helps the compiler to recognize it afterwards, and the compiler will flag an error if later in the program you mistype variable name. I hope I have clarified the concept of variable definition to you. In the next lesson, we will see how we can initialize the variables. See you in the next lesson.